Have you ever thought about working abroad? Which country truly needs you? Let's dive in.
Okay, so, a lot of people are thinking about maybe working abroad, right?
Yeah,
It's a big decision.
sure.
And if you are thinking about that, like, where should you even start looking?
Right.
And that's what we're looking at today in this deep dive. We're going to try to figure out, like, where the data says you should go if you want to work abroad.
That's right.
And we're going to be using the most up-to-date information that we could find all the way up to March 2025. So
Yeah, hot off the presses.
very, very fresh.
Very fresh stuff.
Most recent data we could find.
Yes, and I just kind of put it out there right away. Like, what the data is telling us is it looks like the United States is kind of like the top spot if you are going to work abroad.
Yeah, it seems to be the main hub for folks looking to work internationally.
Yeah, so like just diving into that a little bit more, when we
Right.
looked at the 2023 numbers, the U.S. had over 32 million foreign-born workers,
Wow.
which is just a huge number. Like, to put that into perspective, Germany, which is another big one, had over 9 million.
Right.
Canada and the UK were both around 7 million. So like a quarter of the number that the U.S. has got.
Yeah, so clearly, like, the U.S. is really drawing in a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not just, like, any kind of jobs, right? These are, like, really important sectors. Like, the data shows a lot of foreign-born workers in technology, finance, healthcare.
Yeah, skilled labor in high demand.
Exactly. Yeah, and all that data came from Statista.
Yeah.
We thought they had a really good, like, overview comparison of all these different countries.
Yeah, really solid source for this kind of thing.
So, okay, so we see 2023, the U.S. is the place to be, but, like, what's going to happen, right? Is it going to stay that way?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Exactly.
And of course, got to say projections are projections, right? They're not guarantees.
Of course, yeah.
But based on the trends we're seeing now, it really seems like it's going to continue that way, at least for the next little while.
Okay.
The estimates by 2025 show foreign-born workers in the U.S. might be as high as 35 million.
Wow. So even more.
Even more, yeah. And this isn't just like random guessing, right? This is based on, how much it's grown in the past few years and what the economy's demanding and, how the population's changing in the U.S. Like, are there enough people to fill all the jobs? So,
All right, so U.S. is on top. They're projected to stay on top. So then the question becomes, like, why is everyone going there?
right, exactly. What's the draw?
Yeah.
I mean, if we look at it from like a big picture perspective, the U.S. economy is huge.
It's the biggest.
It's the biggest in the world, and that obviously means there's a lot of jobs, a lot of different kinds of jobs.
Yes, so opportunity.
Opportunity galore, right? And,
Yeah.
and that's what all the sources keep saying, like that economic strength is a big driver.
Yeah, and it's not just about having the jobs,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's also about, like, can people actually get those jobs? Are there systems in place?
That's a really good point. Yeah, the sources talk about that too. Like, are there ways for people to actually come and work in the U.S. legally?
Exactly.
So things like, immigration policies, specific visas, like the H-1B visa, which is specifically for skilled workers in certain fields.
Yeah.
And also companies sponsoring workers, like big companies like Amazon.
Yeah.
They'll actually like recruit people from other countries and sponsor them to come work for them.
So they're really putting in the effort.
Yeah, they need those workers, so they're willing to go through the process.
Yeah, so it's not just like, oh, yeah, there's jobs. Like, they're actually actively trying to get people to come.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know people are coming for the jobs and the strong economy, but it's not just like one specific area,
Yeah.
right? Like, the jobs that people are taking are really varied.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting. You see foreign-born workers all over the place doing all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Like healthcare, for example.
Yeah.
In 2023, there were about 5.5 million foreign-born workers in healthcare, which is a huge chunk of the foreign-born workforce, like over 18%.
Wow.
Yeah, and you see them in education and construction. It's really spread out.
Yeah, so it's like all different levels of skill, all different industries.
Yeah, it really shows how diverse the U.S. economy is. Like, there's something for everyone.
Yeah, and that came from the data, too.
Right. All the data points to this diversity.
Yeah, now, okay, so this one thing really, like, jumped out at me from one of the articles.
Okay, what's that?
It said that after 2052, immigrants are going to be, like, the only source of growth for the U.S. workforce.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they're not just going to be part of it. They're going to be, like, the whole thing.
That's a huge statement.
I know.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
And it came from this article called Immigrants Will Be America's Only Source of Labor Force Growth.
Yeah, very straightforward title.
Yeah, very to the point.
But yeah, I mean, that really shows you how much the U.S. is going to be relying on foreign-born workers in the future.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's not just supplementing the workforce, it's actually going to be driving all the growth.
Yeah, and it's because of like, the population trends that are happening. The native-born population's getting older, birth rates are changing.
Yeah, demographics are a big part of this.
Yeah, so it's like a fundamental shift, and it makes you think like, okay, what does this mean for the economy? What does this mean for society? Like, how are things going to adapt?
Yeah, definitely raises some big questions for the long term.
So we've been talking a lot about the U.S., but like, are there other places?
Oh, for sure. There are definitely other countries that are attracting a lot of foreign workers.
Yeah, what are some of the other big ones?
Well, Germany is definitely up there.
Yeah.
They're really well known for attracting highly skilled workers, especially engineers.
Yeah, their engineering is like world class.
Yeah, they've got a really strong industrial base, and they need people with those specific technical skills.
Yeah, so if you're an engineer, Germany might be calling your name.
Exactly.
Okay, what about Canada?
Canada is also really big on skilled workers, but they're often seen as being a bit more welcoming in terms of immigration.
Yeah, like their policies are more open.
Yeah, they've got all sorts of programs specifically designed to make it easier for skilled people to come and work there.
So it's like they're actively trying to get people to come.
Yeah, for sure. They recognize the value that foreign workers bring.
So Canada, another great option.
Definitely.
This one might surprise some people, but Japan is also getting in on the action.
Yeah, Japan is stepping up their game.
I know.
They're actually expanding their foreign worker program in a big way.
Yeah.
There was this guide we saw called Top Countries Welcoming Overseas Workers.
Oh, yeah.
And they mentioned that by late 2023, Japan already had about 200,000 people in their program.
Wow.
Yeah, they're realizing that they need to bring in more people from overseas because they're having labor shortages.
Yeah, the population is shrinking.
Exactly, aging and shrinking. So they're really feeling the pinch.
So Japan's one to watch.
Definitely keep an eye on them.
So, okay, so we've talked about all these different countries and all this data. So, like, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about working abroad,
Yeah.
it's the bottom line. Like, where should you go?
Okay, well, if you're all about, like, how many jobs there are and how likely you are to find something, especially in big fields like tech, finance, healthcare, then the data's pretty clear. The U.S. is the top dog right now.
It sounds like it.
There's just so many foreign-born workers already there, and it's only going to grow. Plus, the U.S. economy is really strong, so...
Seems like a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, based on the numbers, it seems like the best bet.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, it looks like the U.S. is the place to be if you're looking to work abroad.
Yeah, all signs point to the U.S.
And that's mainly because their economy is so strong, they've got all these different kinds of jobs, and they're going to need foreign workers even more in the future.
Exactly. They're going to be relying on them to keep things going.
So this is something I've been thinking about, like with all these talented people going to one country.
Yeah.
What's that going to do to society and the economy in the long run?
Right. Is there going to be like a brain drain from other countries?
Exactly. Yeah. And like, are there going to be any like cultural clashes or anything like that?
Yeah. It's a really interesting question to think about. Like, what are the long-term effects of all this?
Yeah. So even though the U.S. might look like the best option based on the numbers,
Right.
there's other things to consider too.
Absolutely.
Like your quality of life, and does the culture fit you, and like what are your specific career goals? Like maybe the U.S. isn't the best for your particular field.
Yeah. You got to do your own research and figure out what's right for you.
Exactly. So don't just blindly follow the numbers.
Yeah. Think about the whole picture.
So much to consider.
A lot to think about, for sure.
All right. Well, that's our deep dive into working abroad.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Where would you like to work abroad? Drop a comment below and let's discuss. Check out the key business vocabularies in the comments. If you want the full script, just leave a comment, and I'll send it to you. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. If you find this video helpful, like to support us, comment to share your thoughts, and share to spread the value to more people. Thank you for being part of our community.